It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward.
You want something, go get it, period.
You gotta keep moving, let's keep moving, let's go. Don't quit until you got nothing left.
This is where we have been, this is how we got here, this is who we are.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
You're listening to the Hustle Indie Show, where we seek out some of Indy's most hustling people and places to learn about what they do, how they got started, and where they're going. Sit back and enjoy the show.
What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Hustle Indie Show. This is episode number 12. Make that a 2. This is episode number 12 of the Hustle Indie Show, Season 2. It was a great episode. We had Joshua.leon on the episode talking about logistics and moving and all of the hustle and grind he's had to go through, moving from corporate America into entrepreneurship. Really, really inspiring story.
Yeah, I mean, if you are an aspiring entrepreneur, a current entrepreneur, or just have an interest in entrepreneurship at all, this is definitely the episode for you, just because you could just tell that he was born to do it. Just such a natural conversationalist, a natural relationship builder, and with that comes very hard work, and he was able to do that too. And just a very cool story. I feel like we could have talked for a lot longer than we did. Yeah. He actually stayed a little bit after the episode ended, and we just chatted. So very good guy, very awesome episode. I think you guys are really, really going to enjoy it.
Oh, absolutely. You're going to love this episode, this conversation that we have with him. Lots of wisdom, lots of stuff to carry on into life. So without further ado,
let's hop right in.
We're going to hop right into it. Welcome back. We are here with a special guest for this episode of the Hustle Indie Show. We've got Joshua.leon on the show. So perfect. Joshua, thank you. Welcome to the episode.
Thanks, guys.
Exciting to have you. Yeah. So how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It was weird seeing snow. We had 70 degrees, and then now we got snow. And
flipping the switch on us a little bit. Yeah. So catch us up to speed. Tell us a little bit about what you are doing right now. What keeps you busy?
So I would consider myself an entrepreneur at the moment. About me, I come from background as logistics. I've been in 3PL supply chain for the last 12 years.
Wow.
And I think my story is probably like lots of other people, where I was part of the downsizing. You know, the layoffs, the million people let go. There are millions of people like me who were laid off. And I think to myself, where I come from, you know, we give our hearts and our souls to our companies. Yeah. You know, we give our time, and to be let go, it kind of hurts. And I think to myself, when that happened, it was a year ago today.
Wow.
That happened. Man. And it's just it's a new card on where I'm at today compared to where I was in my world at a corporate office. You know. So to give you a background, just basically where I came from. Fresh out of college, you know, graduated from Manchester University.
Oh, cool.
Go
Awesome.
Spartans.
Yeah.
I got into logistics sales, and I didn't know anything about logistics. I actually wanted to get into orthopedics.
Really?
Yes, but I came in, I graduated in 2005, so I came in during a real downturn, hiring freezes. Hey, there's no jobs right now. Okay, I'm going to move to Indy. I get a job, and I start realizing I have no clue anything about logistics. I have no training. It's a whole new world to me. And so I'm like, I can't even sell this. I have to know it. So I call it a 10-year rotation. I went through all of operations, you know, learning analysis, learning dispatching, carrier development, to director. Finally, I became a director of business development, and I think going into sales was it was a risky move. You know, they say, what is it? The higher the salary, the bigger the bounty. You know, years a higher expectation on yourself.
Right.
And I was given that up front. Hey, you got a year to succeed, or you're out. No more games.
Wow.
Okay. I know I've been here 10 years, but I'll succeed. You know. So wheels to the pavement, feet to the grindstone, developing relationships, trying to cultivate some new business for this company.
Yeah.
I land a $7.4 million account.
Whoa.
and it's going to change my life. You know, we're getting ready to launch this thing in March, and I get this call. Hey, bring your stuff. What? What do you mean bring my stuff? You gotta bring your stuff. Like, whose call is this? Like, I just was successful. I put in all this time.
Yeah.
I had a year to make it happen. And I did it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, nope, sorry. It's in the game.
Whoa.
Really?
Wow, yeah. So, I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what to do. I think people get into these situations, and I've never been in it myself.
Yeah.
You know? So I built a greenhouse. I came home, and I had a bunch of wood, spare wood. I had a bunch of old windows, and my wife looks at me, and she's like, "Why don't you go build that greenhouse? You know, it's spring."
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. So I spent like 2 months getting calluses on my hands.
So was this last year then?
Yeah, this was last year.
Okay.
This time, I'm ripping big trusses from an old 100-year-old barn, and I'm building the frame, and I'm putting this thing together, and it's beautiful. I love it. And after that, it's kind of like, because I just took like a month off, you know, 2 months off, like trying to just clear my head, because I'm still thinking about relationships and deals, and at the same time, like, I have a solicitation over my head. I can't talk to anybody. Like, it's a non-compete.
Yeah.
And for a year. So after I built this greenhouse, we go travel a little bit. We went out to South Dakota.
Oh, cool.
Saw the monuments, you know, went out to the forests, and we went out to Vermont, helped start a church, met some friends out there. Like, we've been everywhere, and then, and I think we all feel that season. It's like, hey, it's time to get to work. Obviously, I'm not rich. I can't run on fumes, so we need to make some money. And then so in September, I finally kind of took the leap of starting my own agency. And a freight agency is normally you're a broker. I own no equipment. I own no business, and so you have to depend on, one, your leverage with carriers and your customer, and you got to find some type of value as yourself to help either the customer or the carrier. And there's brokers for either type. So I could not reach out to any of my old relationships. Obviously, you know, I've built
Yeah.
10 years, all the people I've known, all the people I've met. So I started making calls, people I don't even know, telling my story. This is what I do. This is what I've done. I know this business. Give me a chance. Give me a chance to let you show my value. And I think there's a lot of fear in that when people become an entrepreneur, being told no, or they don't like you. And I'm sure they won't. You know, there's some people who don't. They turn me down like, nope, thanks, bye. Like, that's fine. Let's call another person.
Yeah.
And you have to shake that off to get through that hard time. And now, gosh, good Lord, like, he's been so good. And my wife too. Like, I know coming from this year who I couldn't have done it without. And that's, you know, Lord Jesus Christ and my wife. Gosh, my wife, she's such a virtuous woman, and I thank her so much. All the time, we lay in bed, I'm like, man, we couldn't be here without you. Because she kept us going. Yeah. She's a little hustler herself. I met her at my previous employer, and we have 2 kids, Enzo, who's 4, and Noella, who's 8, and she wanted to stay home and raise the kids. So single family income during this whole time.
Yeah. Right.
And so in the meantime, she's hustling, and she always has a hustle. Like, either it's, I'm telling you, it's either strawberry rolls, or she's selling jewelry.
Yeah.
She's making stuff to sell online. She's finding these little Etsy snowmen. She goes, we can sell that. I'm like, go out there with a chainsaw and cut something. Like, she's always has ideas of what she wants to make. Yeah. And so she was selling jewelry at the time, and it was just getting us by. It was just getting us by, keeping us afloat until I was ready to go out there and start again. And gosh, I appreciate that so much. And now, you know, coming from a director level salary in the comfort of a nice office to, you know, home office, kids run around, we still homeschool, you know, making calls. I've quadrupled my salary since then.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's nuts. It's nuts. And I think to myself, like, what was it? What has it been? Like, what's the secret sauce? Like, what helps somebody become so successful so quickly? And I don't know. I really don't know. But I know what I've done, and that's, like I said, is try to be value. You know, try to relate and tell them, you know, and also listen to their story. I've been to, and I'm in a weird position where when I was in carrier development, my job was to drive around to any carrier who owned 10 trucks or more and talk to them about their business. Like, how did you start it? What did you do? How did it, where are you growing? What's your wheelhouse? And that's learn about you, learn about your business, and how can I use you in what I have, And I did this with hundreds of carriers. I mean, I'm in 4-story glass buildings to a basement with a bunch of, they're great people, Serbian people with a bunch of two pit bulls sitting beside me. And I'm in a basement. I'm like, oh man, I feel weird. It's hard to understand already what you're saying.
Yeah.
I just want to make a good relationship with you.
Yeah.
But it's scary. Gosh, it's scary. And to go out and find people and say, what do you do? What are you doing? Like what, for the customer side, like what's your business, and try to figure out ways that you can just help them. And I know margin is not a bad word. It's not, because you have to bring the value with it, or you wouldn't grow it at all.
Right.
But yeah, I know I just kind of went off on a tangent here.
No, that's
that
totally
was
fine.
perfect.
Totally
Yeah.
fine. So now are you doing essentially role-wise what you were doing a year ago, just with a different
Good question.
Yeah, I was wondering that too.
So, like, this role I'm doing now as a broker, I've done it before. In my previous employer, they never had a brokerage division, and I was part of that greenfield project of let's start a brokerage division,
Yeah.
And so I'm in there vetting carriers and figuring out like different boards and markets that we get into. You learn by failing a lot in that in that spectrum of who to deal business and who not to deal business with, and so I was pretty successful as a broker. I would say I was managing a good load of freight. I would say monthly turnaround would probably be about 1.7 million. I was managing every month. That'd be a good average, and and I think it's baptized by fire where it's very chaotic. You have loads that are going, hot shot air. You have straight trucks that need to deliver straight, same day. You have loads picking up in Indiana going to California. Like you have, and everything has a different duration, but you have to know, it's kind of like not an air traffic controller, but you have to know where everybody's at any given time to help somebody out. And not only that, it's what's your level of intensity? Can you handle 5? Maybe just one's good enough for you.
Yeah.
And me, I would say I have a big appetite. I'm doing probably 50, 60 loads at any given time. I'm watching trucks, coordinating shipments. But it's doing the little things correctly. Not all times does your customer have all the information. They might know what they need, but they can't call the shipper and know exactly what are the shipping hours and what are the dimensions and coordinate it the way it could be done best. So I think I do a lot of that due diligence that they cannot do.
Yeah.
To kind of, I don't know, pre-qual the whole trip to make sure everything's going to go over smoothly, rather than be like, hey, this guy showed up, it's not going to fit, it's the wrong truck size,
So
he's late, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. So you're like a logistical middleman in a way.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Basically just,
So
go
when
ahead.
you say, when you're doing the logistics for these different carriers, different shipments, what kind of shipments are they? Are they like business shipments?
All kind. Oh, okay. So my background is automotive.
Okay.
So
Gotcha,
tier 2, tier 3 suppliers. And that's what basically I stay in manufacturing. I don't do.
Okay.
I think on my LinkedIn, like no reefers. I just don't do any reefers. Refrigerated trailers, all on usually produce or goods.
Gotcha.
Vaccines. Everybody that was a big case there on how they're going to run the logistics about that. And I get it. It's messy, and I just don't do any reefers. I do dry vans, flatbeds, dry freight, manufactured freight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I want to go back to kind of like the origin story a little bit. So like more towards like the beginning of everything.
Yeah.
So you started out 10 years working in this business. How did you even get into it? So you said into logistics, that wasn't originally the plan, right? So going through this, how did you transfer into learning all of these new skills that you originally had no idea about? Because learning something like that in an environment that you're not necessarily comfortable with can be very difficult.
Yeah.
So like how were you able to learn? Because like in the business, I went to business school, and like business itself seems simple, but there's a lot of complicated moving pieces a lot of times, especially in logistics.
I think, thanks for asking that question. I think as an entrepreneur, I think if you're in a company right now and if you're ruffling feathers, you're probably an entrepreneur. Like you're asking questions. Why does this work? What's happening here? Always, what is it? Intellectual curiosity. You always want to learn more and really dive deep. In college, I had a professor, Jim Faulkner. Gosh, the guy was great, and he kind of sparked me in my entrepreneur outlook. And he had this thing called a $20 challenge. He goes, "I'm gonna give you $20, and you double it like 8 times. Is 8 times or 10 times? 40 to 80, 81, 60, and it goes up to thousands. And we were doing it for a homeless shelter, for a women's homeless shelter.
Oh, that's awesome.
This is the challenge.
That's really cool.
You come up with your own idea, whatever you want to do. Like, okay, so I start this thing called like a heavy savings card, and we've all seen them, like football players or baseball players. They go around, here's the discounts. So I went around the whole town, just this small town, making my own deals. And I love deals. Good night, I love a deal. I had to ask you, hey, what's the last deal you had? I'd go up to my brothers or friends, like, hey, what deal did you get lately?
Yeah.
It could be 2 for $1 on grapes at Kroger's. Yeah. I don't care. I just want to know, what deal did you get?
Yeah.
And so I would negotiate and haggle with these, business owners. Hey, I want to get your name on this card, trying to sell the mindset of this is going to get business into your door from just more locally. And I think I ended up getting like 16 different businesses on the back of this card, and I'm selling them for $10 a piece. And then I start hiring some of the kids in the class. I'm like, hey, give me your $20. Yeah, okay. Now you're my employee. Go sell.
That's awesome.
So, like he just, like, obviously there's a lot of ideas about it and where it all stems from, but he's just done so much for me that he doesn't even know, kind of, allowing me to do the things, to kind of test yourself, like, what are you capable of, and I was pretty excited about that. But you come into this job, you already have your own set ideas and skills,
Right.
And it's whether or not the company obviously can use them, but you want to bring value. And so I'm going in there in this operations, not knowing how to even work the TMS system, what buttons do this, what buttons do that. And then once you figure out, like, what does this one do? Oops, I wasn't supposed to push that. You're making a lot of mistakes. And I did that. I probably make a lot of people mad. Like, why are you messing with this? I'm like, I don't know. I just want to figure out how it worked.
Yeah.
So as you're learning all of that stuff, as you're learning logistics, since you had no background in logistics at all,
no.
As you're learning all of this, how do you keep it from just staying in your head? How do you take all of that knowledge and execute it?
Okay. So a lot of the things, like, I personally enjoy is negotiation. You got good deals. And I read up on different techniques of, like, what's some things you can say when negotiating with other people.
Yeah.
I definitely implement that. But when it comes to logistics, like you obviously have a good fundamental of time zones, of miles and rates, and you can try to, I guess I see what you're saying. So there's a pre-existing knowledge of, like, what rates should be, what people want, where are they going, and that's always changing. And so it's almost like the stock market. You need to kind of keep up on. There's a watermelons are in, so there's a big flux of drivers wanting to get to Texas. So if you have a load going to Texas, you can get. Watermelons aren't in right now, but if they were, rates are super cheap getting into Texas, because they're going to get excess amount of, they're going to get their self and then some getting outbound from the watermelon loads.
Wow.
Interesting.
Wow.
But also that comes with vessel shipments too, when everybody's talking about the vessel getting stuck in the canal.
Yeah.
Like, it chums up the logistics where there's going to be a big excess, and it's going to mess up with the rates. Eventually it will. There's going to be a high demand somewhere. There's always a high demand, but it's going to be a peak high demand for a long time, which drives people more there. And there's money chasers out there. There's people who want to say, where's the money at? Where can I get $6, $7, $8, $10 a mile? And they'll flock to those areas to try to get a load out, and they'll push it. And if you don't know what those rates will be, or what rate you're getting into, I guess you don't have any footing to talk to carriers about it.
Gotcha.
And also, when you're talking to carriers, it's a relationship, just like the customer. getting to know them, what's their ideas, what not just the owner, but like the dispatchers, like people who are, managing drivers or even owner ops, understanding like their mind play of where they want to be.
Yeah.
They know they're trying to set up a long haul for, if you know this guy, or even put it in their mind. It's like, hey, I get you out the East Coast. You'll be there by Friday. Don't worry. You'll take that thing all the way to Washington. You'll find something real long. Like, I'm trying to entice him, sell him into my load at a cheap rate because I know he can get a big haul out.
Wow.
And so I will negotiate that rate down that way.
Yeah.
You're like speaking a business language that a lot of people probably won't be able to follow very easily.
I'm sure they can.
It's very interesting, like what you do. So kind of fast forwarding again back to the last year, you building this greenhouse, you're finishing the greenhouse, trying to decide what to do.
What to do. Yeah.
Why did you decide to go on your own versus back into the corporate world?
I didn't. I actually was applying to. I met a lot of good companies out there, and I thought, man, I like their company. I would love to work for them. Some here in India. I'm like, I like these guys.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys got any jobs? I'd love to come work for you. I've been in your office. I know your people.
Yeah.
I know your structure. No, can't get in. There's nobody hiring.
Wow.
With the big downturn, everybody's shuffling the deck, but nobody's dealing cards.
Gotcha.
Nobody gets to play. And I did get an offer, but it was super low. And again, it was an aggressive job market. Everybody's looking for a job.
Yep. Yeah.
And they came in super low with an offer. And as much as I wanted to get the money, I'm like, I can't. I'm gonna ruin my car driving hour and a half back every day.
Yeah.
To work an office job that I know I could do better. I could do better than this. Yeah. And so I told him no. He's like, what? No one has ever told us no. I'm like, I'm sorry. It'd be your first time.
Interesting.
I'm not going to take it.
Wow.
I'd rather just keep risking it. Again, I was able to say no because of my wife. She kept us propped up. She kept us going. It's like, don't take it. Don't do it. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. We'll figure out a way to get you where you need to be. And I love logistics, the good, the bad, the ugly. Like I love it to a T. And it's trying to figure out where could I be to help and not having a map to say, well, I've been here before. I'm gonna go talk to this guy. I know I could help him, but I couldn't. Not till this week did my solicitation, my non-compete, the chains have been lifted, and it's kind of like, man, that's weird. So what's my plan now? Do I approach them and tell them all these good things and try to get more business, or do we're growing significantly. It's just me, but I'm going to need to hire some more people.
Yeah.
And that's a new realm for me. So I don't know. So I ask people that I do know, like, hey, you've done this before. We stand on the shoulders of others. What would you do? What have you done? And I just ask questions about things
That's crazy.
I've never been.
It's awesome. So it sounds like your role, in the past at corporate job, was very relational, very get to know people, get to build relationships with people.
In the end, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before it was to the grind, like very. It's very structured where you're taking a lot of calls. You're being the broker. You're being that outlet, and you become so much so like people would know. Hey, ask him because he could find the truck.
Okay,
This guy he can find you something.
Yeah.
You become known for that.
Yeah, with it being so relational and then stepping out and starting to build your own base, but you're not able to pull in relationships that you had previously.
Right.
What was that like? What was that process like, stepping out and starting that process of building relationships from ground zero?
You feel real vulnerable because like they don't know you. And there's a lot of comfort knowing like, hey, we've met, we've actually talked, we've had lunch before, our kids have hung out. Like, there's a lot of comfort in that. You want to stay in that zone and be like, this is nice here. Everybody knows me. I can talk to them freely. And to go out and actually almost like dating, but with business. Like, this is me. This is what I do.
Especially without a brand behind you backing you.
You're right.
That has to be such a difficult part. It's not like, oh, here's me, but I also have this brand that has been doing this for however long. It's like just you at this point.
Yeah, I'm selling myself. I'm selling completely myself. It's who I am. This is what I do. And I try to. When you're talking to somebody, obviously you want to relate to them very quickly in some way, and I think that is key. Is not to lie, but just to relate. And it's stemming that conversation if you get time to talk to them. You know, that's very hard. So you're dealing on an email pitch of, hey, left you a voicemail, and you try to tell your story right there. Be personable. Don't, and you see it all the time on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Hey, I just want to connect because I want to sell you this. And
The
this is what I have.
automated,
And it's
the
like,
automated messages all the time.
No,
Yeah.
I'll throw in zingers there. They're like, what's this guy doing? Like, like odd titles, weird stories. I just want to tell you something, and it'll catch an eye. It'll catch an eye, and somebody will be like, yeah, but tell me about what happened in the story. I'm like, okay, I'll finish it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's so cool.
So now that you've been doing this business on your own for coming up on a year or so, what have been some of like the biggest learning opportunities that you've seen, or some of the biggest challenges that you've had to overcome? Like, what have you learned from being on your own versus being in corporate?
You feel like you're on an island. Before, I think I had full privilege and a lot of access. You know, I need to add or change something here, I do it myself. You know, I need to make an adjustment or do a little override, done. You know, there's a lot of there's a lot of I don't know, there's a lot of support that way. And now it's kind of like I have support, but it takes time. Like I can't just go in there and add change. I have to like, can you somebody please update that to show the right zip code, or somebody please add this carrier so I can use them. And then you have to wait. And that's hard. That's hard because like I just want to do it myself. I've been in that process. I've vetted, I've added carriers and looked at thresholds and but I understand, you know, there has to be keys and checks and balances to a company. I think that's the hardest part. Is just I don't have the entitlement to go and make changes. I have to ask, and which is fine. I don't mind it, just not very patient. I try to be patient about it. Come on. Because there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff going on.
I mean, being your own boss is its own challenge in and of itself, because you have to, like, being in real estate, I still work under some people, which makes it nice, but like you have to like manage your time correctly. Like you also have to be able to balance being at work versus being at home with your family. Has there been any challenges with that, like being like working at home? Like how do you overcome that?
So. My wife would say so.
Sure.
It's hard for me to even make lunch, which is like 2 rooms down. I don't know. I take so much pride in what I do, and it's hard to pull away. It really is.
Right.
Especially when you're say you have a load that you're working on. You get a rate. You have within, like, I have a rate from you. I have to answer you in 5 minutes, and I give you the offer. So now I have to wait for your response, but keep this fish on the hook, because eventually you'll be like, hey, you gonna send something? What's going on? And be like, and then you're gone. You're gone.
Wow.
And he's like, yeah, I'll take it. Oh man, I lost it. Yeah, I don't have the truck anymore.
Wow.
I don't come back with that answer. I go back and find another fish.
Wow.
But that does happen. That does happen. So you're balancing this, and it's some people have, if it's a load for that day and the driver's empty, he wants to pick up a next load. He's not going to wait around for you for 15 minutes to decide whether he's going to take your load or not.
Right.
Man.
So the time constraint of like how fast everything moves, you know, when it comes to negotiating, to being awarded a load, and just satisfying both people.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, your wife's like, hey, lunch is ready. You gonna be here? It's hot. It's hot now. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm coming. I'm coming. Let me turn my phone off. I don't want it to ring. And
So it sounds like your day to day is very hectic.
Yeah.
Not always. It's not always the same.
No, it's not always the same.
Yeah.
Never the same.
Yeah.
You never run the same loads. And when it does the same, I try to find a way to make it more efficient. Like, how can I get this every time? Like, if you're gonna have this every time, I'll set this up in a way it's gonna run automatic, and I don't have to ever worry about it again. This guy's always gonna be there. You always have the load. Perfect. Let's deal with the new stuff.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And that's pretty traditional, especially in 3PL. It's logistics plans. You know, you have something that runs current, static, left and right, day and night. There will be some changes here and there, but let it run. Let it run and work on the other stuff on the side.
Do you set time constraints for yourself? So that since you're your own boss, do you like say, okay, I'm only working these hours, or do you just you're always on?
Not
Really?
Yet. Yeah. Like yesterday, I think I worked till like 6:30. The kids were just. It was one of those more laxical days. Everybody's kind of tired from playing outside. I'm like, I'm just gonna keep working. Like, like I'm fine staying at my desk.
Yeah.
I shouldn't. I really shouldn't. You're really calling me out here. I need to unplug, and it's hard to. You strike while the iron's hot, and to me, the iron's always hot. So I gotta keep.
Yeah.
I gotta stay here.
Right.
I gotta stay here
Right.
and keep going, and
Yeah.
that's hard.
Yeah, it's not a you specific
Right.
thing. This is like an everyone
That's
thing.
why I
Like
was
it's just kind of trying to
asking.
balance
Yeah.
that work, that life. Like
Yeah.
when you turn the off switch on,
Yeah.
it's
so
tough.
So much so, like I think we have a weird lifestyle because. I don't want to say weird. Well, yeah, I would call us weird. Because we homeschool.
Right,
You know,
right.
we have a stay-at-home business. So I'm with my kids all the time, and it's nice. Like, hey, come here. I give them a big hug.
Yeah.
Sit here. I'll make this screen like a Bugs Bunny cartoon while I dispatch trucks. And then, you know, sometimes he'll take a nap on me, which is nice. That's few and far between, but that happens. And I definitely enjoy it. And then she's like, let's go to the store. I'm like, no, I don't want to go to the store. Just go. I don't want to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So you're 1 year in, almost exactly.
Well, so I'm 1 year from being downsized.
Okay.
I'm exactly 1 year. But in this company, I've been my own agent for a good 5 months.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay. So with that experience under your belt then, looking forward, do you have any specific plans or growth changes that you have set in stone?
Yeah, I find myself already wanting to be comfortable and not like I'm doing well, everything's going great. Why push it? And my wife, there's a funny story, and it's not true, but it's let me tell you.
Okay.
So it was how's it go? So it was like George Bush and his wife. They were going through Dallas, and they stop. And they're in their presidential limo, and they stop at a gas station, and Barbara gets out and hugs the cash clerk there, gives him a big hug, and she gets back in, and she's like, George's like, who's that? She's like, that's Earl. And he's like, oh. She goes, who's Earl? He goes, oh, that's my old high school sweetheart. She goes, wow. He goes, wow. So if you would have married Earl, you've been first lady of the gas pump, not first lady of the United States. And she goes, no, Earl would have been president. And so,
Gotcha.
so I think to myself, like, women do so much for us, and they build us. There's truth in that on how much they aspire us to be. And she's already like, hey, you need to be doing this. Hey, you need to be doing
That's
this.
so
hey,
cool, yeah.
She's just on top of me of
That's
that,
awesome.
in a good, influential way. You know, it wants me to be better. Hey, you need to keep reading your Bible. Hey, you need to keep doing this. And I'm like, man, you're so good. Like, and it just. I don't know. Like, so I'm growing the company. I'm looking to take more on and obviously hire employees and like, let's take it to the next level.
Yeah.
Let's not stop here. And she's right. And that isn't me. I quickly want to just say, this rabbit hole is nice. Like,
Yep.
let's just
Yeah.
stay
Yep.
here for a minute. And eventually we get itchy and wanting to go out and explore and might as well start exploring now. So that we don't get flooded out of this one when bad times do come again.
Yeah. So for your business, then growth, what does that look like? Does it look like taking on more loads or getting more people to do that and then you manage them? For you, what does that look like?
You're asking questions I'm not real certain of because I know my work plate is filling up, and I think to myself, how do I delegate this to somebody else?
Right.
You know, and do I do that, or do I give them like a certain task and a piece of the job to facilitate them to do something else?
Yeah.
You know, I want it to be efficient, obviously, but I also don't want to sell myself short where be stubborn and not call for help. You know, and be like, I can figure it out when I'm working 8 o'clock at night trying to catch up. Like, what's that balance look like? And I'm not.
And it's interesting you say that because I can't remember which guest it was, but it was the owner of Homespun. Her name slips my mind now, but she said that was her biggest issue when she first was hiring employees was being able to have the level of trust and saying, giving them a task and saying, I'm paying you to do this. I have to be able to trust you to do this, not hover over them, not be all over it. And that is a unique challenge in any business. And I feel like especially like when it comes to yours, you having to trust them to, if they're doing exactly what you're doing, having relationships with others, because that reflects directly on you. So that definitely is a unique challenge that being a boss is, but it's something that you have to do if you want to grow, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, gross margin, like we're doubling every month right now.
Wow.
Yeah, doubling every month. So next month will probably be close to, it'd probably be close to 80,000 gross margin next month.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that doubling margin, does that reflect on the workload on you directly? So when you're doubling your margin, does the workload double exactly?
Yeah. My bowl is getting full.
Yeah.
I cannot eat all the cereal.
Exactly. So Indianapolis, you're in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Does this city play a specific role in what you do?
I am a Hoosier boy myself. You know, I'm from northern state, Fulton County, a little town called Akron, Indiana, and I would love to be. I have a lot of friends and people of fellowship here. I would love to help them out if any way possible. Just sometimes people don't know what's out there, and they get like myself, like they don't know what they can get help with, and sometimes it's easier to go to Amazon and buy what you want rather than go to the craftsman and say, hey, make me one of these shelves that I'm gonna buy. You know what I mean? Like I want this myself, and custom doesn't always have to be more expensive. It's just knowing who to talk to and who can get you a deal. You know, and I don't know. I would love to partnership with more people locally. I think it's just hard for them to, and also they don't have time to go out and say, let me find somebody new. It's like, do you want to switch insurance agents? Like, how hard is that? You know, you're shopping around and getting rates, and like it's hard to do that. It's hard to switch. So you have to go to them and say, I'm here. If you need help, I'm here. I'm always here. You know what can, and you can't obviously just lead with that. You got to build that relationship. Got to know what you're good at, where you're at, what you do, and there's definitely people I've reached out to before. Nothing striking yet, but I'll probably be persistent.
When it comes to competition, and especially the way that you're growing, is it more so like those large industries that you're competing directly against, or is it other individuals like
I'm
yourself?
I'm competing against people like me. There's broker agents out there, entrepreneurs that do this job, and there's hundreds and thousands of them.
Really?
You have to differentiate yourself. I would say, if you're going to get into this, is do the small things correctly. There's so many people who skip steps, and it sounds crazy, but people do not tell you when a driver's arrived or if he's loaded and when it's cleared, and here's the bill. People, it's like doing that, oh my goodness, is the best feeling to them, knowing that you're watching everything about their load. It's as if you go to send your kid to childcare and they're sending you pictures and updates like, this is what they ate, this is what they did, and this is what they're doing right now. And like, you feel good. You feel good about it. Well, I send them a picture like, here's your freight, here's this tucked away, it's nice in its package, it'll see you tomorrow. Like you, and then you can send them updates on the way as well. Like, that is doing things that people don't do. People just don't give that type of service. And when you do that, they have a sense of confidence like, hey, if I give you this, I know I won't have to worry about it tonight. This baby's going to be here tomorrow, and I can sleep good, you know?
Yeah.
And everybody wants somebody like that.
Yeah.
Everybody wants somebody like that. And not everybody does. It's like a Chick-fil-A. Somebody at Chick-fil-A is like, man, I just feel good when I come in here. You guys are so nice. And you know, you have this. They have this servitude mentality, and you have to give it back. When you're in this business, you got to give it back.
Interesting.
Yeah. So do you see when you have people that you're working with and building relationships, do you see a lot of return on those people coming back and doing business with you again?
Absolutely.
Really?
That's
okay.
where it is. That's where it is. It's not only just getting the chance, but doing your chance right. Don't skip a step. You know, don't stop. Don't cut corners on your service. Don't cut corners on helping somebody else out.
So if you have one piece of advice for a young entrepreneur or someone that's either in the corporate world or working a job that they may not want to be working, or during this crazy time, you know, people are getting laid off still, and you know, if they're in a rut and they're wanting to figure out what to do, what kind of general piece of advice would you give to someone that's in that situation?
Oh man, that's hard, because I wish I could say I woke up in the middle and be like, I'm quitting and I'm doing this tomorrow.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
I had to have a pandemic to throw me down. And me to wallow in my own thoughts and be like, what am I doing? What is happening? You know, like, and does everybody have to go through that process? I don't know. You know, I would definitely I would definitely have them ask the hard questions to themselves, what they're good at, what they're not good at, what could they work on.
Yeah.
And I think knowing your own skill, knowing your own self of where you stand gives you a platform to stand on and say, okay, I think I can do this myself. I wanted to be I wanted to start a donut business. I wanted to start.
That'd be so cool. I love donuts.
But I couldn't make a donut to save my life.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh man, let's see if I can try another batch tonight. And I could not make a donut. And so I did not go that route, obviously.
So that process of like really looking inward, and seeing your faults and your skills and inabilities, is that hard?
I think it takes. I think it takes risk to. That's the hard part. Is taking risk to do it. You see somebody cutting up chainsaw, and making a bear out of it, out of a tree stump. You're like, I want to do that. Well, get out a chainsaw and try it. Like you don't gotta be awesome the first day,
right?
But you gotta try it. Like you gotta try and make a donut, or you're not gonna know if you're bad at it or not. I was bad. I was really bad. Dog wouldn't even eat it. It was bad.
That's great. So,
but I can book a truck, man.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
That's a specific skill. You have it.
Yeah. So for someone listening that wants to learn more about what you are doing right now, or maybe utilize your services right now, how can they get a hold of you or learn about what you're doing?
Yeah. So I think we can drop a link below in the site of my website. I have a website, and I wouldn't put my phone number there, but I put my email address. You get a hold of me that way. Okay.
Yeah. Perfect. Cool. Well, any last words of advice you'd like to share with the audience?
Man, I wish I would have came up with something real quick and quirky, but nope. I just have a great weekend, man. It's Easter week. Oh, do they know it's Easter weekend?
This will be airing next Friday.
So post Easter weekend. It's Easter weekend for us.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. No, that's it. God bless you guys.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
Thank you. We really appreciate it.
Yep.
Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of the Hustle Indie Show. We look forward to seeing you in the next one.
Yeah.
Awesome.